you guys kind of understand that, you can take these pieces separately or you can take them together, right? And that's how I try to structure the class. I don't want you guys to feel like I gotta nail a character. I gotta, your grade isn't your grade isn't based on how well you're nailing your character sculpts. You guys, I mean, if you guys can sculpt the face, hey, I take it as a, mission accomplished, right? If I can get you guys to understand, you can sculpt a base mesh, put some eyes in it, put a nose, some lips, some ears, maybe throw a body on it. If I can get you guys to do that, like my hope is, I wish I could get you guys to the next step, which is rigging, animating your character, bringing your character to life. That's what I want to be able to do for you guys, right? Like I can, if I finish my character in time, I'm gonna show you guys like how I would go about, like if I wanted to do a quick rig or a quick test on my character, what I would go and do, just because I think that's the fun part of it. Like that's when it starts to get fun again, because there's dulls, there's highs and lows when it comes to character sculpting, right? Whenever you're thinking of the idea, whenever you're starting it, it's usually kind of fun, right? It gets a little tedious in the middle when you're doing the same repetitive task, but at the end, when you're coloring it, finishing it, presenting it, it gets fun again, right? Then it gets boring again when you have to do the rigging, and then it gets fun again when you have to do the animating and bringing it to life. So there's ebbs and flows, there's peaks and valleys when it comes to sculpting, right? Like your motivation even at certain points goes up and down depending on the task that you like doing, right? Like if you like sculpting a lot, right? You sculpting, you loving that part, but the moment somebody says, all right, it's time to unwrap the character, you're like, oh my god, this sucks, right? So
Yeah.
that's the that's the nature of the beast. That's the nature of the job that we do. So I just want you guys to start getting those basics, and then start applying it in your next projects. Right? I want you guys to take this and then go, all right, I want to make this character. Then go and start attacking that character. And remember, I'm going to tell you this now. Your character, whatever you make after this, it's going to be ugly. It's not going to look good. I mean, if it looks good, trust me, I'll be the first one to give you props, right? But you've got to get through that ugly phase. You've got to get through it. I'm trying to tell you, I got to get through that ugly phase. Your stuff is going to look ugly for a while, right? Even my body, the body of this guy, he looks kind of Gumby-ish right now, right? But the more you work on it, the more you refine it, the better you will get, the more you'll learn, and the better your modeling will get. All right, let's dive into where we are. I checked your threads as well. Your guys keep posting. Your stuff is looking good. I know you guys have had issues with ZBrush all week, so like I said, I have pushed all of the assignments back to the 30th that were affected by the ZBrush being down, right? I didn't go above and beyond, but I did those three, or I think it was two or three projects that you guys weren't able to do on time. I did go and I pushed those dates back for you guys, so that is available now on your dashboard, bright spaces. All right,
Thank you.
no problemo, no problemo. All right. Yeah, thank you guys for keeping me in the loop as well. I see your messages. I'm usually working myself, so like I'm either contacting somebody or trying to get you guys the help that you guys need. So I'm seeing your messages. I'm trying to work in the background. So thank you guys for keeping me in the loop. Keep doing that. Keep talking to each other. Keep helping each other as well. Love to see that in the chat. I love to see it. All right. So let's see, where did we leave off? We started making our character body, right? And so this is where we got to. And from here I could start like defining stuff, but what I wanted to do is kind of help you guys go through the thought process of what I would do after this, which is I would then, let me see, make sure I'm recording, make sure no board is on, so that you guys can see my keyboard. All right, you guys can see my keyboard. in the recording now. So now let's look for some reference. I'm gonna look for hmm elite elite from Halo because they kind of have a similar um, body type kind of structure. One of you guys said so, and I was like, hey, that's very apropos, very Halo esque, very Elite esque. I think these are the new. Oh, this is this is Elite fan art. It's kind of cool. All right, so at this point, I've got kind of like a base mesh going. So I want to start looking for some reference of, oh my goodness, I just hit the jackpot. Like I might just, I don't even need any more reference. I'm joking. I'm gonna get some more reference, but this is really, really, really good reference. I like this. I like this kind of stuff. So I'm gonna copy this, or I'm just gonna save this image for myself, right? So things like this, I like, I like, I like. Let's go refs, alien. So these are my alien refs. So, oh, Jeebus. All right, so it's an AVIF file, which is not useful to us. So what we do in this situation is we copy the image, we go to photop.com, and hopefully we can, let's do a file, new. We're going to create and then allow. We're going to paste that image right in here. All right. And now we can just, let me stretch this. Whoops. Okay, Shift Control T. No. My goodness. My. Yeah, I'm using the Photoshop hotkeys, and it is not the same. All right. File, export as PNG, save it. All right. So there's a tool out there for you guys that I want you guys to use whenever you're gathering your reference images. So there's something called PureRef. So pureref.com, I think is the site, or just Google PureRef. I'll post a link in the chat to it. But PureRef is actually super cool. PureRef. All right, let me show you how to quickly go and download it if you need to. So here it is. So here's pureref.com. I just middle clicked it, right? But what it is it allows you to aggregate all of your images into like a collage form. So I'm gonna click Get PureRef if you're using Mac, Linux, Windows. You say what you got, you download it, right? And let's pull up PureRef. So here's PureRef, and I'll show you how it works. It's actually a super, super cool little piece of software, especially for artists like you guys. All right. So let's imagine that I have several images for references that I want to aggregate. So I have my anatomy references, right? I'm just gonna, right? So let's go here. I'm gonna show you guys. So here's my anatomy reference. I'm just gonna drag, right? I'm just gonna drag like all these, shift drag. I've got 133 items selected. I'm just gonna drag it and drop it into my PureRef board. Whoops. I'm just gonna drag all 133 right there. You see that? And then it's gonna turn all of them into a collage. All right. It's pretty cool, and I can do the same thing, right, for a different set of images. So if I wanted, I can just go, I can grab these guys, right? And I can say, I want another board right there. Boom. Boop. Right. So you can use this if you've got reference that you're working with, right? And you can save these boards out, right? You can right click, save them out, and then share them with people. So if you're working on a project with people and you're gathering reference together, right? You can use this tool to aggregate all of your reference, share the board so you guys are all working from the same exact stuff. All right? So that's my little pure ref demo slash look at me tour. So I'm gonna now just pull back up my reference because I've got like 30 minutes left and I want to do a good demo for you guys. So I'm just gonna start with this reference here, right? Once again, always use reference for whatever you're creating. All right. So, and with this, I like to keep this up because now whenever I'm doing the musculature, right, I have a pure ref board that I can just refer to look for whatever the part of that muscle that I'm looking at is. All right. So this is always a good thing to have whenever you guys are modeling, right? Don't don't sleep on the pure ref board that you can use for yourself. All right. So I'm just gonna scale it down and move it out of the way a little bit so that I can. So you guys might not be able to see my top screen right now, but I have this image. I have the image of this guy next to the images of on the pure ref board. All right. So that's what I'm going to use. Okay, so let us begin. Let's grab our character, right? And we can isolate the body if we want to, right? So we can go solo, right? So now we're just working with our body here, all right? I'm gonna do BCB, and that's the clay buildup tool. I'm using my brackets here. Make sure this is that's recording. All right. All right. So now I'm just gonna start just throwing some clay on. All right. It's time to start messing around, throwing some clay around, trying to see what I can make shake out of the shapes and stuff that I have. Going back and forth, I'm looking at the references that I have. So like I might scroll over, look at the torso, right? If I'm going to focus on the torso, have an image of the torso that I'm referring to back and forth, right? So I know what the musculature is. I'm looking specifically at this right now, all right? Just so I see how these striations pull, right? So I'm gonna go straight up to the pectorals right here. If he's got some kind of, I like the idea of him having some kind of like alien outward pointing rib cage doohickey majiggy, right? I like kind of like that idea, right? So I'm just gonna emphasize it a little bit more, all right? And another way to emphasize things when you're modeling, right? If you're pulling with one, you can then alt and then push the other way with the, so I can pull and then alt to push down. So now that's emphasizing it just a little bit more, emphasizing that. And because I wanted to mimic kind of like ribs, right? And there's going to be muscle, right, pulling off of it. So I'm trying to imagine that and try to depict that. So I'm acting like these would be spinal columns or like the vertebrae in the front, and they always have like kind of like that little thing in the middle, and then it kind of flares out at the tops, right? Like so. And then I'm drawing the striations, right? Just putting some striations in here, trying to follow how it would attach, right? I'm imagining that, hey, if he's got this right here, then he's probably got some striations that come from it. This right here, some striations that come from it, right? So I'm trying to make sense of it, right? Even at this low, very, very low poly kind of stage, right? Maybe start to define um, where his clavicle is, right? The clavicle bone, right? And then the muscle that attaches to that, all right? And then the traps, all right? Give him some sweet traps. This guy's like Sam Sulik's buddy. All right, so we gave him some pretty cool traps right there. Their guy, he's kind of like head and shoulders. He ain't really got no neck. You know what I'm saying? So like, their guy is very much could definitely use a neck lift. That's a thing, right? But even from this stage, you guys can still see like, okay, it's starting to kind of shape up a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is I like this rib cage, but it's kind of pulling a little hard. So I might B, M, and V, right? That's my move tool. Then start using my move tool to kind of massage these pieces back in like so, right? So I'm trying to sculpt it out, trying to make it like, okay, it's if this rib cage were real, how would it be poking out? Right, mine is a little different from what they've got, but I think I like the way like the skin is kind of stretched over the musculature. Right, this character right here, the elite guy, he doesn't really have a lot of fat on him. Right, this is a character with very little fat. It's muscle on skin on bone, so you're seeing everything. This also, this kind of what happens to elderly people as well, right? When there's collagen and lipids and stuff that hold the skin and make it look fresh and young, right? That's what happens. Why our skin starts to look old as we start losing that collagen, and when we don't have a lot of fat deposits and stuff like that, the proper amount of fat deposits. So you want to start looking at things like that and try to mimic those things. And I'm putting those things in just the in the base mesh phase, right? This is a very low form of the mesh, right? This might be a little too high. I think that's a little too high. All right, there we go. And this kind of pulls. Let's reduce this size, and then boom. I like that like kind of emaciated look, but a little exaggerated emaciated look. Very exaggerated. All right, I might start to now think about drawing some of these abs in. Go, and then in the middle, right? I'm alt down, right? Subtract. Right? It's just pushing and pulling polys, adding and subtracting, right? All right, and I was just smoothing it out, smooth it out, smooth it out. All right, now I want to check the proportions from the side to see what it's looking like. See, this is kind of looking cool, right? Like if you come up to this silhouette, this is kind of looking cool, but I think we can accentuate this and make it look a little more, the form look a little better. So I'm gonna go BMV. We can get a more appealing form. I feel like if we pulled out some of this middle action here, right? I feel like we're getting. I don't want to get lost in the sauce, but. that's way too much. Way too much. Take it easy. All right. So now let us. All right. So you want to go around and do this to the entire body, pretty much. All right. So now let me start looking at some more of this. The side abdominals. BCB to go to my clay buildup tool. All right. So I'm going to find some more reference. All right. Don't want to do this without reference, good people. It's so much harder, right? Like you never realize how much you don't know the human body until you're trying to sculpt parts of the human body. You're like, wait, do doctors have to know all this? So now I'm going to take a look at, something like this. So this is like a musculature of the arm, right? And for you guys starting out, it's okay, literally, to just copy this, right? Like literally paint, go muscle for muscle, draw them out, paint them out so that you can understand what's going on. Because right now you just want to imitate it, right? It might not even look right at first, but you need to start imitating it so you understand, oh, it takes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 muscles just to make up that shoulder, right? You want 1, 2 to make up the bicep, 1, 2, 3 to make up the tris, right? The tri connects to the radius and the ulna this way. This muscle goes around. It's not, things like that. You have to do that for yourself. Even if you think it's tedious and it's boring, you need to start doing it now so that it's not tedious and boring when you need to pull it out for anything, for a character, for a meeting, for a job interview, for a portfolio, something. You might need to be like, all right, I need to know this or to be able to reference it. And you need to be able to go there, go to that place. All right? And if you don't have your reference on hand, if you're calling yourself a character artist, well, these are some of the things you should know. These are some of the pieces you should be practicing. All right? So I'm just going in like just throwing in all the muscle groups I see. Right? Just throwing them in. All right? All right, this is the straps. Boom. Goes kind of like that. Right? And it's okay if it's messy now. Right? It's okay. That's perfectly fine if it's messy now. All right? And I never used to know this, but there's like a muscle right here. All right? And this. Kind of like that. Right? Now just putting those muscle groups in, right? Remember we had this one and then there's two. There's that light blue one and the blue one that come out from the back of the elbow, right? And they connect to inside the wrist, right? So they need to go like, instead of how I have it connecting right here, so this muscle that comes from right here, it needs to come out from here, right? And then terminate inside the wrist like so, right? And then there's another one that sits right beside us. And then this is what helps us kind of turn our hands. You can smooth it down. Right? The thing is, it doesn't have to be pronounced, but those markers need to be there. They are markers. These are indication markers for our body, right? And that's why when you see characters that don't look right, you're like, wait, it doesn't look right, but why do I know it doesn't look right? You don't have to be an expert artist, but if something has 15 toes, you're like, man, that does not look real, You know this, and that's why every time you see AI hands and things like that, you're like, wow, that looks crazy because that's not how hands look. Because you know how hands are supposed to look. So even if you don't, you know, you think, oh man, they're not gonna notice. They notice. They don't know why they don't like it, but they don't like it because it's innately wrong, right? And it doesn't look right. All right. So this guy, I'm gonna steal some more design philosophies from the elite. So they've got this guy, and he's got like these little nodules that come up, and these might be like an after thing, right? But I might want to put them in now just so like the topology is kind of already conforming in that direction, and it's not going to be like I'm trying to force it later on. But he's got kind of these little nodule things that come up. So all right, that, and then let's make this. All right, and then let's go BMV to move. All right, and you guys can see I haven't gone fancy with the tools I'm using. I've literally used two brushes, the clay buildup brush and the move tool. Two brushes to get here, right? So you don't need that 10,000 brushes. There's a lot of people who will try to sell you brushes online all the time. Oh, you need this brush. You need this brush. You don't need anybody's brush. You need two brushes. They're really already installed in here. All that extra stuff is just fancy just to be fancy. All right. And if if you like it, go, and you want to support the artist, more power to you. But 90% of the artwork that you want to create or need to create, you can create with whatever is inside of ZBrush, you know. Because a lot of it, right? They call it poly pushing. We're poly pushers. We're just moving vertices, right? We're moving polygons from one location to the other. That's all we're doing. It's poly pushing, pushing polys. So as you guys see, I'm working on the rib cage a little bit. It was just looking kind of boxy and not very realistic, so I wanted to kind of remove that. All right, and I think that's not helping either. There we go. That looks a little more. That looks a little better. All right. BCB, right? And I'm making sure, like, you want to go about this kind of stuff in passes, right? You want to go over it in passes. So I'm doing a kind of a light detail pass right now that'll go over everything, right? And then I'll come back after the fact, right? Me alt, right? Because this is the wrist. I'm gonna maybe make the wrist a little bit smaller. All right. Pushing and pulling, pushing and pulling. I'm not sculpting anything, just pushing and pulling polys right now. All right. So now I want to look for maybe some legs. All right, found some. Found some legs. Haven't found the thigh though. What time is it now? 12:45. This is fine. I did find a thigh though. Did find a thigh. All right, let us sculpt a little bit of this thigh musculature. We're just, like I said, we're just kind of blocking it out. Blocking it out. I'm just going to throw the pelvis in there, right? This is our pelvis. All right, you're going to act like that. And then we've got a muscle that kind of comes down like so. Boom. Just gonna smooth it back out. Nothing too elaborate. Nothing too elaborate. Just blocking in some forms. See if I can find some better reference. Found some reference of the knee. Found like calf muscle reference. All right, here we go. All right, cool. I'm going to use Michelangelo's David as my reference. All right. All right, so just going to copy, right? Like I'm telling you guys, starting off, treat it like you were in, like elementary school when you started learning how to draw stuff, right? You would copy everything. You would take it like a trace sheet or something, and you would just start going to town. You wouldn't care. You would just be like, I just wanted, to make it look like what I see, right? That's what you should be in the process of right now, making it look like what you see, right? You're taking that information, you're throwing it on models. The models aren't going to be good yet, but you've got to start somewhere, all right? You've got to start somewhere. And then this muscle's kind of big. There's another one right here, right? And there we go. And then do a little knee action. Messing with the claw. Okay, skinny this up a little bit. I think he'd have like little chicken legs. Almost. Maybe it would be covered in armor. Or something, but let's thin them up a little bit. Alright. They're kind of sharp, so they're kind of like, this is the one time maybe you start using like the flatten tool, BFA. Alright, oops. BPL. This is the planer tool. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's on 100. I'm like, what is going on? Oh, I'm like, what is it? Why is it? Oh, okay. It's because it's also painting RGB for some ridiculous reason. BFA. I don't know why everything's doing RGB. Stop doing RGB. So yeah, the purpose of this is it starts to kind of flatten, gives you like some kind of more planar angles. All right. If you wanted to throw some more planar angles into your model, this is how you would do it. And sometimes you do want to flatten some things out. All right. We haven't even gone to the back yet, but we've started, detailing out some of this torso. It's the same process, essentially over and over again, guys, right? This is the same thing we did for the face, the head, right? We start blocking out some details, some shapes that we like for the character. Let's go BDS. All right. Just gonna block it out. So this is the Damien standard tool, and it kind of helps you kind of cut into the model. All right. So this will kind of hopefully help you guys visualize it a little bit better, see what's going on. I'm gonna do the opposite here. This is for like the shin plate right here. Right here. And then it's gonna alright. Alright, and you guys can see it helps kind of cut into the mesh. Alright. This is this Damien standard tool. All right. So another thing is when I'm using the Damien standard tool, the problem that I'll run into sometimes is sometimes I'm either cutting too deep, right? So these times it's okay to cut a little deep. All right. But if you don't want to, you can go up to your intensity, reduce that intensity, and it's not cutting as deep into the mesh. All right. So the cool thing about doing stuff like that is, right, you would start with something like that. Let me go here. All right. And like I told you guys, I'm literally just mimicking what I'm seeing in my reference. All right. The reason is I am not going to rely on my shaky memory of the human anatomy, right, to start doing stuff like this, because I could be so wrong. So wrong. All right? And I'm trying to emphasize this because a lot of you are going to leave my class and you're going to think, that guy's crazy. I know exactly what a hand looks like. I know exactly what a face looks like. And somebody's going to tell you to model something for them and you're going to do it and it's going to look dumb and you're going to be like, why does my stuff look dumb? And it's going to be like, well, because your teacher told you not to do that without reference, right? The quickest way to not get to where you want to go is to underestimate the power of referencing, all right? Don't underestimate reference at all, guys. It's very important. It's very useful, right? There's a reason, right? We can't know it all, right? You know, even some of the best artists, they were there's a reason even back in the day we were using live models, right? Michelangelo, Leonardo, Da Vinci, live models. There's a reason for that. The reason is because they can't rely on their memories. And if those Renaissance artists, right, those that we consider the greatest of the greats, require reference, what makes you think with your 2 months of looking at YouTubes that you can do better than they can? And you have better it's just, come on, guys. I like to emphasize it because it's so important. It'll take your project from looking to, oh, he nailed that. How did he nail those forms well? I believe it. The reason is because you've used reference. You're following reference, right? You're following your reference very closely. All right. And now I'm going to look at, I've got some pretty good reference too. So you guys don't sleep, don't sleep on my reference. I know I'm selling this stuff pretty hard, but sleep on the reference now. It's important. All right. So on that note, we've gotten to a decent point today with a lot of this. I want to next class. Monday, I want to finish detailing. It's not really detail. We're mapping out some of the structure that we're gonna put into our character. So this is just, this is a good map. This is a good road map we've got here. You guys can start going to do the same, right? All right, because like I want to give him like claws and like I don't know. This might be some sort of horn or gadget. I don't know yet. We're still kind of designing together. So, um, I'm just kind of having fun with it, right? Using my reference, using the reference and using design to kind of help guide my eye, my hand, you know. Um, and you guys can do the same, man. This stuff, right? It's hard until it's not. It's hard until it's not. And I keep telling you guys, it's gonna look real ugly for a while. It's gonna be ugly. You gotta grow your hair out. You're gonna have an ugly phase. But once you make it past that ugly phase, you're gonna be like, oh, okay, I see where it was going. So don't give up. Don't be like, oh, this looks like trash and never draw again. I'm never gonna be a good drawer or whatever you kids say these days. Just keep trying, man. I do really appreciate that you guys pulled up to class, and I appreciate you guys trying and posting your stuff. It means a lot that you guys don't take this stuff for granted or give up on yourself. So, without further ado, does anybody have any questions for me? Comments, concerns? You hate the character, you love the character, you want to print T-shirts of the character? Let me know what you guys think.
Well, I've just been putting it in the chat, but I guess until I'm able to use ZBrush again, um, perhaps I could just work on like a 2D character or something concept art wise.
There is ZBrush Core Mini that you can get as well. So you can do a lot of this stuff in ZBrush Core Mini, which is the alternative right now. So if you're having trouble, right, and that's why I implemented ZBrush Core Mini, you're more than welcome to still do your character, but I would, like you to try in ZBrush Core Mini to kind of, sculpt in general.
Sure. Yeah. No. Cool.
Yep. But yeah.
All right. Much appreciated.
No problemo, no problemo. I should probably save a lot of this for next class, but once you guys start getting, you start drawing, it's hard to kind of stop. So I'm gonna put a hold on this for now. Let's remove the solo, see what our character looks like with it. Interesting.
Ah, he looks really cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a good start. All right. His proportions look kind of off now, so I might need to like pull either kind of pull them down, right, and then maybe scale them up a little bit. No, that's not scaling. Oh, Nobu over here. This guy looks like Nobu from My Hero. But all right. Either way, I will continue to check your stuff, and if you guys don't have any questions for me, you guys are free to head out for the day.
Actually, I did have one quick question.
Okay, ask away.
Obviously, I'm using the Core Mini right now. So
Mhm.
if say I started making a body and then I have my head and maybe like the neck is too short, is there any way to like using Core to like cut the head off to like in like two different sections to extend it, or do I kind of just got to move everything around?
Yeah, you kind of have to move everything around because if you were in ZBrush, yeah, you could do that. You could split it in half, and come back and add merge it and all that stuff. But with ZBrush Core Mini,
Okay.
you have to almost like finish what you're working on, save it out, and then bring it back in to a new mesh, import it again to add like the body and stuff. Or you got to do it all in one go, in one giant mesh. So
Okay.
there's
All right.
limitations, but it's possible.
Okay. No, that's what I figured. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something.
No, you are not.
I had a question actually.
Ask away.
So, something that I encountered whenever I was working on my last character was when I guess I was using certain brushes and sculpting too close to other parts of the mesh, and then the mesh joined.
Okay, that's a back face. So like if you are sculpting on something, you're doing something with your brush, right?
Hmm.
And it keeps pulling the other side. You want to go into your brush settings right up here. All right.
Uh-huh.
So there are a few settings that you can start messing with. So there's the auto masking, so you can turn on what's called back face. All right. So if I turn on back face, so like sometimes if I let me see if I can find a piece of mesh that's kind of thin. So sometimes if I do something like that, okay, let me turn off backspace. So it'll demonstrate it a little better. All right, so I did that, and it's going to select, whoops, everything in front and the back. But if I turn on my back face mask, right? Every time I select something like that, oh, it shouldn't select the. It shouldn't. It's not going to go to the other side. And that's the same for the brush. So if I have like a thin piece of mesh and it keeps pulling the other side, what I would want to do is just go back to my back face, turn on the back face mask. All right, so now it's not gonna pull anything on the other side of the mesh. It'll just work on this side.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yep. That's back facing. It happens a lot when you have like a thin piece of geometry or like something too thin that's close to each other.
Hmm.
So another thing you can do is you can, if you have poly groups set up, all right. So like if I select this, let me go to my poly groups right there. Let's auto group. No. All right. Let's group masked. All right. So now it's grouped those into a poly group for me. So now if I wanted to, I can isolate it and just work on that. All right. I can do the same. So like if I just want to work on, right, the inside of the hand, right, I can group those masks again, right, and then I can boop. So now I'm only working on just this. Does that make any sense?
Hmm.
Yeah. So you can mask.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can. There's a lot of different ways to go about that. If you're running into issues where your mesh, you're trying to sculpt on one side and it's pulling the other side, so you can just separate them and just say, hey, control, color what you want, mask it or group it into its own poly group, and then Alt Control select it, and it will isolate it for you. So now you're just working on that. And now I can auto group again, and it'll regroup my model into the pink dynamo. Okay. Alrighty.
Super cool.
Alrighty.
So,
Righty.
thank you for all of your tips.
Oh, no problems. No problem. No problemo. All right. If you guys don't have any questions for me, I will go and take a lunch.
Thank you. Bye.
Any other questions? Seriously though, like it's Friday. You guys, no questions.
So
There we
is
go.
the ZBrush back up and available?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did the assignment from Tuesday get pushed back?
Everything's gotten pushed back.
Okay, thank you very
Everything
much, sir.
should now be due on the 30th of April. So at the end of the month, everything that was due before that ZBrush incident has now been pushed back to the end of April. So yeah, should be good to go there.
Thank you very much, sir.
No problem.
Do we have to do anything else to like re-register it, or should it just be good to go?
Nah, you should just be able to enter the same way. It shouldn't be. I don't know. This is. Let me stop recording before I start talking crazy.